A firefight on the Cambodian border. An American rifle jams. The soldier does the thing his training warned against and his instinct demanded anyway. He drops the dead weapon and grabs the next best thing, an AK-47 lying in the dirt a few feet away. Enemy rifle. Loaded. Famously reliable. His officer screams one word at him. Drop it. Not because it was the enemy's gun. Americans used captured rifles all the time. He screamed because somewhere inside that magazine, the United States government may have hidden a single bullet built to kill the man who pulled the trigger. One round, packed with high explosive, engineered to turn the rifle into a bomb going off 6 inches from his face. This is the story of Project Eldest Son, the secret that turned a soldier's own weapon into the most dangerous thing he could touch. June 6, 1968, a patch of jungle near the Cambodian border. The shooting had already started when a North Vietnamese soldier brought his AK up and put the front sight on an American from the 1st Infantry Division. He squeezed the trigger, expecting the muzzle to bark. It did not bark. It detonated. By Major John Plaster's account, the men who reached the body later found something that made no sense. The North Vietnamese soldier was dead, sprawled beside his Chinese Type 56 rifle. No American bullet had touched him. His own weapon had come apart in his hands, the shattered receiver driven backward into his skull. The barrel was clear. Nothing was jammed in the bore. The rifle had simply blown itself apart at the moment of firing. Bad metallurgy, the Americans figured. A defective round. Cheap communist ammunition. They were wrong. And the fact that they were wrong was the entire point. To understand what killed that man, you have to go back to a problem that had nothing to do with killing anyone. By 1967, small American reconnaissance teams were crossing the border into Laos and Cambodia, hunting the Ho Chi Minh Trail. And everywhere they went, they kept finding ammunition. Tons of it. Stacked in caches deep in the jungle. A recon team was 2 or 3 Green Berets and a handful of indigenous soldiers. Nothing more. They could not carry the ammunition out. They could not hold the site. Fire would not destroy loose rounds. Demolition charges just scattered them across the jungle floor for the enemy to collect again. The man in charge of those teams was Colonel John Singlaub, a World War II veteran of the Office of Strategic Services, the wartime ancestor of the CIA. He said the problem plainly. I was frustrated by the fact that I couldn't airlift the ammunition we were discovering on the trail. His first idea was to booby-trap the crates, so a man lifting a case would lose his hands. Then a colder idea arrived. Don't booby-trap the box, booby-trap the bullets. The trick was not new. The British had done it to rebellious tribesmen in Waziristan back in the 1930s, slipping sabotaged .303 rounds into the supplies of men who relied on scavenged ammunition. Singlaub took the old idea and handed it to a man the Studies and Observations Group called their answer to James Bond's Q, a technician named Ben Baker. Baker's problem was chemistry. The first sabotaged powder was a brilliant white, nothing like gunpowder. One curious enemy soldier pulling a round apart would have exposed the whole program. So Baker found a substitute explosive that looked like ordinary gunpowder, that would pass any inspection short of an ordnance laboratory, but that behaved nothing like it. Here is the number that matters. A Type 56 receiver is built to contain about 45,000 pounds of pressure per square inch. Baker's round generated roughly 250,000. 5 times the pressure the gun was built to survive. The receiver did not crack under that. It came apart like a small grenade, throwing the bolt straight back along the line every shooter's face occupies when he fires. They called the program Project Eldest Son. The work was split. The CIA's laboratory on Okinawa did the delicate part, prying open sealed ammunition crates, swapping in the poisoned rounds, then repacking and resealing the cans so cleanly that no enemy quartermaster would ever see a human hand had touched them. The Studies and Observations Group did the dangerous part. They carried those rounds into the enemy's backyard. By one SOG veteran's account, in December of 1968, a recon team called Alabama drew the job near the eastern edge of the demilitarized zone. While F-4 Phantoms bombed a nearby bridge to pull attention away, 2 men slipped into an enemy ammunition cache in the dark. They planted the heavy mortar rounds first, then the 12.7mm machine gun rounds, then the rifle rounds. As the last man finished, he turned around. A tracker dog stood 3 feet away, already crouched, already coming. That was the work. Inches from discovery, deep inside enemy territory, planting a single bullet and praying nobody noticed. And that word, single, was the genius of the whole thing. The iron rule of Eldest Son was that you never planted more than one sabotaged round in a magazine, a belt, or an ammunition can. Just one, buried among perfect rounds. So when a rifle finally exploded and a survivor tore the rest of the magazine apart looking for the cause, he would find nothing. Every other cartridge was flawless. The weapon hadn't been sabotaged, the evidence said. It had just failed. The genius was never the explosive. It was the restraint. By one SOG man's account, after a mission like that, he began carrying a sabotaged AK magazine on nearly every patrol. A single, poisoned round to leave behind wherever the enemy would find it. And he was ordered to write down exactly where and how he left each one. Not only so the enemy would recover it, so that no American and no man on his own team would ever pick it up by accident. That is how real the danger to their own side already was. They kept written logs of where the poison was buried, but a bullet does not know who loaded it. The men who built Eldest Son understood that from the first day. The poisoned rounds were loose on the same battlefield where their own side fought. Somewhere down the line, that was going to come home. They just didn't know whose hand would be on the rifle when it did. The sabotaged ammunition went out across 3 countries. SOG SEALs working the Mekong Delta took the deception to its logical extreme. They captured a sampan, loaded it with cases of tainted ammunition, then shot the boat full of holes and poured chicken blood across the deck. They set it drifting downriver, a battle wreck for the enemy to find and salvage. Bait dressed up as a tragedy. The planting was the part that killed your own men. By one veteran's account, on the 30th of November 1968, an Eldest Son team's helicopter took a 37mm anti-aircraft round and fell 3,000 feet into the canopy. It exploded and burned. 7 SOG men and the aircrew died on that hillside. No one came for the bodies. The area was too thick with North Vietnamese. Men died planting bullets they would never see fired. And across Laos, Cambodia, and South Vietnam, enemy weapons began to come apart on their own. An AK detonating on a quiet jungle trail, a heavy machine gun blowing its crew off the gun, a mortar round going off inside the tube, killing the men leaning over it. Every incident looked like an accident. Every incident was a message the enemy could not yet read. Then it happened to the wrong man. American soldiers loved captured AKs. The rifle was rugged and reliable in a way their early M16 were not. It carried a 30-round magazine. It fired with a deep, distinctive sound, and at night its tracers burned green instead of American red. Men carried them as trophies and used them in the field. There was never a shortage because the whole war was spent scouring the countryside for enemy weapons. And one of those captured AKs, an American's prize, walked out of a firefight as a souvenir, blew apart when he pulled the trigger. The wound was serious. The man lived. But the thing the United States had built to kill the enemy had just turned around and nearly killed one of its own. That was the reckoning. And it is the answer to the question in the title. The warnings went out fast. The 25th Infantry Division's newspaper told soldiers in the summer of 1969 that captured AKs could blow up when fired. The Army Times ran the same caution. Armed Forces Radio, which everyone knew the enemy was listening to, repeated it. And here is the strange beauty of it. The warning told a lie in order to tell the truth. Every notice blamed poor communist quality control, cheap Chinese factories, defective metallurgy. Not one of them mentioned the real reason, because the real reason was a secret most of the men issuing the warning didn't fully know themselves. Quietly, recon teams were told to stop picking up enemy rifles in the field, except in an emergency. And the Studies and Observations Group banned itself from captured ammunition entirely. Its own commandos, who fought with AKs on cross-border missions, switched to clean rounds bought through a middleman in Finland, ammunition that had been manufactured, of all places, in a Soviet arsenal. So when that officer screamed at his soldier to drop the captured rifle, he was not afraid of the enemy. He was afraid of his own side. The enemy felt it before they understood it. SOG intercepted enemy radio traffic and learned that fear of exploding weapons had climbed all the way to the highest levels of North Vietnamese command. Generals were asking questions about sabotage and Chinese quality. The doubt had reached the top. So SOG fed the doubt. They forged enemy documents and slipped them into enemy hands. One fake Viet Cong notice tried to calm the rumors and only made them worse. "We know that it is rumored some of the ammunition has exploded in the AK-47, it read. "This report is greatly exaggerated. It is a very, very small percentage of the ammunition that has exploded. A reassurance is only frightening when you needed reassuring. It did not work forever." In 1969, when fewer than half the poisoned rounds had even been placed, the story leaked into American newspapers. The program was renamed, first Italian Green, then Pole Bean, and SOG rushed to dump what was left before the authority to run it expired. That haste confirmed to the enemy what the careful single-round discipline had hidden for 2 years. By the honest measure of the men who ran it, the body count was never large. Colonel Singlaub said it best. It was a success, he believed, but as with any such covert deception program, you can never quite be sure. Because the genius of Eldest Son was never the explosive, it was the doubt. A soldier who cannot trust his own rifle has already lost a piece of the fight before the first shot. The program took the enemy's most reliable weapon, the one thing he trusted more than his officers, and turned it into the thing he feared most. Which brings us back to that jungle trail, the jammed rifle, the dropped AK in the dirt, and the officer screaming at a man not to touch it. The warning was never about the enemy's gun, it was about ours. A secret American weapon hidden inside an enemy bullet that could just as easily kill the wrong man. And for 2 years, in 3 countries, nobody could ever be sure which bullet it was.